share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe Share, Recipe Share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is Game Day Eats. I'm Elizabeth, and as usual, I'm joined today by Beth and Katie to tell us about their recipes. So, Beth, tell us about your Game Day Eats.
Okay, my Game Day Eats. I decided to use the crock pot, and I made ribs in the crock pot. And it was a really good, I didn't make it on a game day. Game days, I actually really like to be absorbed in the kitchen and not pay attention to the game. It's my ideal game day. But if I was having, people over. So what I did, and this was based off of a recipe that we got from 5 ingredients or less slow cooker cookbook by Stephanie O'Day. I got it last year, and turns out Kurt took a picture of the recipe, or he added it to his file. And so this recipe was actually for chuck roast. And what's unique about it is you're supposed to pour a can of baked beans and pickled jalapenos in the cookbook. Okay, but we used ribs, and I made a rub for the rib. So the rub I used was some cumin, a little sugar, salt, smoked paprika, and there might be something else that I've already written it down. It was really just, I followed it from my own head. Rubbed the ribs, had them stand up, and then I guess since we made this before, it was too long for the beans to cook. So after 6 hours on low, I put the baked beans in for an hour on high. And they came out, they were very tasty, very juicy, and came off the bone. I did not add the pickled jalapenos to this one. However, when I had some for leftovers, I did put a little of the juice on it. And it probably would have been good. I guess I don't know. I just didn't want to overdo it. So anyway, it was definitely a good thing to make if you have people over and you've got the time to cook in your slow cooker. But that's what I made. I made some pork this time. So
That sounds good. It sounds like kind of a foolproof way to make meat for people. I'm always daunted by, I've said this before, but I'm not a super confident meat cooker because I'm always worried it's going to be too dry because I'm nervous about undercooking. So I feel like the crock pot is a great way to do it because it's going to be juicy and tender and it's going to be good, So
yeah,
I like that. It sounds delicious to
it's
me.
pretty good. It's good.
Yeah.
Earlier, for the people watching, I was like, I wasn't as excited about it. I guess just because all it was meat, and then the rub on it.
Yeah, but I don't know, for me, I think that the concept of using the baked beans with the ribs, I've never heard of that before. And I love baked beans. So I actually think that would be really good. I'm not a huge fan of ribs, so I think that the baked beans would make me like it more. So I think that sounds great.
It was good. It was definitely good.
Very
And it was
cool.
super simple, and boom, boom, you're done. And it's pretty easy cleanup too. You don't add any liquid to it. It just is in its own juices. So yep.
Very cool.
Cowboy chuck roast, but I used ribs. So cowboy ribs. So
There you go.
anyway, Katie, what did you make for the Game Day Eats?
All right. Well, what I made is very, very simple, but it's definitely one of my most recent favorite recipes to feed a crowd. So this is for blue cheese potato chips, and it's from Bonnie Hawkins at tasteofhome.com. You guys, this is so easy. So it's like nachos, but with potato chips. So you're taking kettle cooked potato chips, and you spread them out on your baking sheet, and then you just put your toppings on. So you've got 2 medium tomatoes that have been seeded and chopped. This recipe calls for 8 bacon strips that have been cooked and crumbled, but for me, once you're using 8 bacon strips, like just use the whole package. So a little bit more bacon for me. 6 green onions chopped up, and then a cup of crumbled blue cheese. So you just top your chips with all of your toppings, and you just put it in your broiler for like 2 to 3 minutes in the oven, and then it's done. So the chips get a little toasted and the blue cheese gets soft, and it is so tasty. This just disappeared from my game day. Like, they were gone so fast. The one note that I heard and agreed with was that, because blue cheese, it gets soft, it doesn't really melt. It doesn't make the toppings really stick to your chips. So you're sort of doing a little 2-chip maneuver to keep your toppings on there, which was fine. It still tastes wonderful, but it did make me think that the next time I make this, which is probably going to be this weekend, I might put a little bit of cheddar, like shredded cheddar, on top to see if that makes the toppings adhere to the chips a little bit more. If it doesn't work, I don't care. It's still good. The other thing I was thinking is maybe just a few splashes of some Frank's Red Hot to give it a little buffalo flavor might be tasty here. And then I was like, wait, you could use buffalo flavored kettle chips if you were really into wanting it to taste like wings or something like that. That could be really good. Then I'm like down this whole mind rabbit hole, and I'm like, what if you made them into like Mediterranean style, where you used feta cheese with olives and capers and some lemon? So yeah, I think I'm gonna be making baked potato chips as like a nachos alternative for games sometimes. So it was just a really fun thing to make.
Yep. You have me at potato chips.
That sounds like the appetizer that I always look like if I'm out on like the weekend and we're like watching the football game at the bar or out at a restaurant. I always want like a blue cheese bacon, like tater tot dish, or like blue cheese bacon dip with potato chips. Like, that's just like flavors that I just like gravitate towards for game watching in particular. So I love that. Sounds great.
That's funny.
Cool.
I was also thinking, because I always think sour cream
Mhm.
with chips. So maybe even like a little sour cream and blue cheese on the side.
You could make like a little crema
A little, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah,
Yeah, that could be
so
really
many
tasty.
options. Yeah, sounds good.
For sure. All right, Elizabeth, tell us about your game day eats.
I will. Well, first of all, I'm going to show you that I wore my Detroit Lions shirt for this special program.
I love it.
So I wanted to show that off. And so I love game day. We love having people over. I love making dips, stuff. It's like so fun for me. But every year for the Super Bowl, actually, I make pigs in a blanket. And they're so easy to buy, but I like to make them. I use the same recipe that I get. I use the same recipe every year from Martha Stewart. And it's super easy. I'm going to just describe it here. I have it pulled up. So basically you have 2 sheets of puff pastry, just the frozen kind. You let them defrost, and on a lightly floured surface, you roll them out into a 12-inch square, then cut that into 4-inch squares. And then this is kind of a cool thing. You lightly brush the lower half of each square with some Dijon mustard, and then center a little fully cooked sausage on the mustard coated edge. Brush the top little part with a little bit of egg, and then roll it, pressing it tightly together to seal. Then you brush the top again with egg. And then she suggested poppy seeds to sprinkle on. I actually used everything bagel seasoning because it's delicious. And you bake them, and then I served them with more mustard to dip in. You bake it takes about 25 minutes at 400 degrees to bake them. They came out great. I do have a photo here of them on a plate. They look very cute. And they're super fun. I mean, it's really a once a year thing for me because you know, they're not great for you. And it's kind of it's like messy, you know, the kitchen is flour everywhere and all that. But they're so good. And I highly recommend the everything bagel seasoning. Or you can do poppy seeds, sesame seeds. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of things. But yeah, simple but fun to make. And every time I serve them, people are very happy to see them. So that is my game day eat that I make every year.
Yeah, I bet that's a hit. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, super
Love
classic.
the Dijon right in there. And then, I mean, everything bagel seasoning on top. That's genius. So, yeah, keep that in
And
mind.
puff pastry too. I always would make them with crescent rolls, you know, crescent, you know, like poppin' fresh.
Mhm.
Totally.
But and then do you just get like the little mini sausages that
So I've done it both ways. I usually get the mini ones, but I remember one year they were sold out because I went to the store too late probably. And so it was fine to like cut a regular fully cooked Frankfurter into 3 or whatever. But the mini ones are cuter because they're like sealed at both ends. So yeah.
very cute
Yeah.
and tasty.
So good. Yeah. All right. So if we have no more comments, I will take us out and say thank you for watching Recipe Share. Be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about. Feel free to share your own in the comments. Join us next time when we will be talking about holiday cookie favorites. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe Share, Recipe Share, share a little recipe